The fighter jet. The cutting edge of mankind's technological blade has been evolving for decades in every way. The dogfight, long an epic battle of manoeuvrability and skill, has been replaced by a who can detect who first, almost always from beyond visual range. With modern stealth fighters having such advanced detection systems and missiles in link with systems such as AWACS, the most important factor of what makes a winning fighter jet has become less about speed, turn radius, and more about how hard it is to detect, how good its sensors are, and how well it works in a data link with other air and ground assets. Like how the turn of warfare from the swordsman to the rifleman, the times have changed once more. The Su-57 is an attempt to approach the modern world of combat while being strong in only the ways that are no longer skirmish deciding traits. While a wonderful looking aircraft with decent manoeuvrability and speed and an interesting noise to boot, it is inadequate for modern air-to-air combat. With the Su-57 being produced as Russia's premier stealth fighter, it seems that it fails to achieve that role, instead deciding to be the fighter jet equivalent of a lighthouse when compared to its competition. Now, if I'm going to tell you that the Su-57 isn't very good as a stealth fighter, I have to explain how. And to start off, that means explaining how this is calculated, how stealth is measured, and that's in radar cross-section. So when a radar is looking for a target, and that aircraft is being picked up by radar, how much is being picked up? As stealth aircraft are not invisible but low observable, so if it is a small object on radar, it may be completely undetected or filtered as noise. We measure this in meters squared. So for example, the F-117 stealth bomber designed in the 1970s had a radar cross-section of 0.003 meters squared, about the size of a hummingbird when picked up on radar. Now this doesn't mean it's invisible, but low observable, as was proven when one was shot down in 1999 during the NATO air campaign in Yugoslavia, allegedly after flying repeated flight paths that became known to Yugoslav forces, and being picked up on radar as it opened its bomb bay doors, which increased the radar cross-section of the aircraft as it revealed its non-stealth coated underbelly. This being said, the F-35 is, in comparison, claimed to have a frontal radar cross-section of 0.0001 meters squared, with its advanced fibermat radar absorbent material. The Su-57, however, has a radar cross-section of 0.1 to 1 meters squared. Now this claim isn't by the West, but claimed by Sukhoi themselves. This means that it has 1,000 times of a worse radar cross-section than the F-35. In fact, it has a similar radar cross-section not to other stealth fighters, but 4th gen fighters like the F-18 Super Hornet or the Saab Gripen, which are not 5th gen fighters and not stealth. With such a large radar cross-section, the Felon would be greatly outmatched in any engagement with the F-35, F-22 and being unable to confidently ensure dominance against many Western 4th generation fighters. To understand the real world difference, let's take the S-400's 91N6E search radar as reference. According to the manufacturer, the 91N6E has a detection range of 390 km against a 4 meter squared RCS target, so it should be that an F-18 Super Hornet is detectable from 275 km, the Su-57 from 155 km, and an F-35 from 27 km. In short, a radar will be having around 6 to 10 times greater detection range against the Felon compared to its competitor, the F-35. So when it comes to stealth, for a stealth fighter, the Su-57 genuinely sucks. Firstly, the frontal view of the Felon shows that the fan blades of the engine are easily visible front on if scanned by radar. With so many edges leading to a spike in radar cross-section, this is a big disadvantage for stealth. This is due to a lack of something called serpentine air intakes that would usually conceal the engine, as is seen in the F-35 and F-22 respectively. As well as this, there are certain issues such as the IRST dome, an older style targeting module that is not present on modern stealth aircraft like the F-35, which has a more advanced system called EOTS, which reduces RCS over the previous system whilst being an upgrade in range and target acquisition. This is why this system is absent from planes such as the J-20, the F-22 and the F-35, It is, however, seen on the Su-75 Checkmate, so it will be interesting to see how stealthy the Checkmate truly is. The shape of the fighter could also have been greater optimised for stealth, but it seems the Russians have doubled down on the ageing fighter philosophy of yesteryear, meaning stealth shaping was compromised, and with the L-35's built-in system that automatically tracks radar signals and autonomously positions the aircraft in the optimal position to reduce its signature, it's clear the Su-57 is going to have a hard time comparing. Now, some of you may be wondering, Kubota, what about the exposed screws that I saw on Reddit? Doesn't that show up on radar? Well, that is indeed an issue. It presents an even greater one than you may think. The build quality to put the plane together may have its flaws, but the fact that the screws are exposed shows that the Su-57 lacks radar absorbent material, at least in the viral photo. But if you are wondering, such exposed elements such as screws and heads will appear on radar too. What other build quality can be heavily criticised is the presence of bubbles in the cockpit glass. I mean, this is Russia's attempt at a 5th generation stealth fighter. It should have been the cream of the crop of Russia's Air Force, and they couldn't get the fucking glass canopy right. You're supposed to be making a stealth fighter, not a bubble bath. Maybe they were going for a more relaxed spa-like atmosphere in the cockpit. I imagine the pilot would need it. That tells me enough about the quality control to not have high hopes for this poor aircraft. Not only is the quality of the production quite bad, but it seems the Russians have forgotten that they usually try to make up for that recurring shortfall with quantity, because this plane's largest weakness seems to be that there's hardly any of them. Since the first fabled flight in 2010, there are only 10 Su-57s in the Russian Air Force. In comparison, in 2021 alone, a total of 142 F-35 fighter jets were delivered, with the total number of F-35s in use being nearly 1,000 as of April 2023, with this number's planned to be 3,000, as the cost of the fighter jet rapidly tumble as production soars, and the Su-57 simply cannot compare to this. This immediately shows the reasoning behind the classic Russian wonder weapon treatment of the Felon, which also translates to other failed projects such as the T-14 Armata. Extremely low production rates, leaving the vehicle to have more propaganda value than strategic.